My brother and I used to love building tree huts. We'd compete with each other to build them higher or to make them more difficult to find. As adults, though, so often we get held back by convention. But what if you held on to that childhood dream? The geothermal resort town of Hanmer Springs is nestled beneath the Southern Alps. It's a place of wild natural beauty that attracts nature lovers like Ric and Boio, who were looking for a place to retire to when they bought a plot of land here just 2 years ago. Ric is an English hydro engineer and Boio a legal PA from Papua New Guinea. They met 18 years ago at a party in Christchurch.
I got a phone call one evening. And this voice at the other end of the phone goes, "Do you remember who this is?" And I knew straight away who it was.
They'd both moved to New Zealand with their families in the 80s and were recently separated.
I was thinking, I'll give Boio a ring. I like this lady, I'll see what eventuates, and we've had an interesting relationship ever since. It's certainly been very dynamic.
When the last of their children left their Christchurch home, it was time for a change.
I wanted to live in the country and have have some space where I could grow my own veggies.
Life isn't about spending 60, 70 or 80 hours in the office, which is what I was doing. I wanted to find something that we could share together because I saw greater value in my life in having something that my wife and I could share, and this is what we've tried to do.
Why are you laughing at me?
I'm not laughing at you, I'm just loving you.
The couple's pine-covered lifestyle block just outside Hanmer Springs was everything they'd been looking for, with room for Boio to garden and Ric to tinker to his heart's content. It was the perfect place to build their retirement home, so they converted the garage to live in while they worked out where and what they wanted to build. So why did you choose this place?
Well, just look around you. It's utterly fantastic. It's a feeling of being close to nature, being able to look at the views, being able to just be part of everything.
What's the plan?
To build a treehouse.
A treehouse?
To build something that is a little bit quirky, a little bit unusual, but we're in probably the worst earthquake risk region in New Zealand. We are also in the highest wind zone in New Zealand, and you have to design for 200 kilometres an hour.
But why a treehouse?
I've played in tree houses when I was a kid. My wife is not adverse to living in a tree house as long as it's got some useful mod cons.
This will be a modern tree house with a single steel pole clad in bark to look like a tree. Another 8 wooden poles will help hold up the house 3 metres above the ground in a high wind speed zone. Like spokes in an octagonal bicycle wheel, the joists radiate out to the poles, giving the first floor a modest 97 square metres. A lobby area inside the front door opens to a bedroom and laundry bathroom. This leaves the rest of the first floor for living and dining, with windows revealing sunset views of the snow-capped mountains. The second floor mezzanine has a glass roof so Ric and Boio can lie in bed and look at the stars. The house will be clad in locally sourced timber. An earth driveway built up to the front door gives easy access while maintaining the treehouse aesthetic from the road. Once surrounded by mature plants, the house should blend into the surrounding forest that first drew the couple to their Hanmer Springs haven. So effectively, you're going to be living in a round house with a pole in the middle, up in the air.
I'd like to describe it slightly differently to that, but if you want to use the minimum amount of words, yes.
I'm sure for many people this sounds pretty kooky. For me, it sounds utterly magical.
Ask us in a couple of years' time after we've lived there.
So what is the budget?
Probably about $350,000 for this house.
Okay. Well, that's pretty lean. And how long is all this going to take?
4 months.
What? 4 months?
I'm sure you've heard that before.
From start to finish?
From start to finish. The builder that I'm using, who is our neighbour, he's only just built his house, and that was about 2 months. So I've doubled it for good luck.
If you can pull this off in 4 months, I'll get you a damn good whiskey. How's that?
Well, I'm definitely a whiskey drinker, so there's good motivation there.
They're going to need more than a bottle of scotch. Ric and Boio have an earthquake-damaged house in Christchurch that they need to sell to free up money for the build. But that's not holding them back. They're charging ahead anyway. The complex octagonal treehouse is going to need a skilled carpenter. It's an eccentric design for slightly eccentric clients. Builder and neighbour Dan Maguire is going to have to work fast.
He asked lots of hard questions about how the build would proceed and then came up with very interesting solutions. And it was pretty much a no-brainer to use him.
I don't tolerate numpties, and I don't think Ric is, and we'll develop between ourselves as we're going along. We'll see who's the strongest.
Impatient to get started, they're taking a risk and beginning the build without full consent. And already their treehouse is starting to grow among the pines. The concrete pad has been laid to support the central steel tree, and today the builders are setting up the 8 tannalised posts in buried 40-gallon drums to hold the corners of the octagonal house.
I'll taper it up on the drums so the water doesn't stick around the posts, but it's too wet to do anything with it, so you just let it settle down and then you come and pretty much plaster them up.
The concreting is the easy bit. From here, things get complicated. In spite of the detailed plans, every stage is going to throw up new problems for Dan and his team.
We're always looking for projects that interest the guys, keep them on their toes. And we're starting with a circle, which can put a lot of guys off for a start. There's no diagonals, no parallels. And with the main central pole, which everything drives off, there'll be a lot of head scratching going on, and we'll make decisions as we're going.
It's such a fast build. Everything needs to be planned and ordered now.
Keeping pace with Dan is probably the biggest problem because we've got a roof to purchase and we haven't ordered it yet, and we've got windows to purchase and we haven't ordered them yet, and we're at the point now where the delivery dates will probably delay the build. So they're on the critical path.
With all 8 posts in, it's Ric and Boio's first opportunity to imagine the height of their new house.
Is it what you were expecting?
No, it wasn't actually.
I mean, you were
I thought it was going to be like lower, but it's very high.
You were telling me that 3 meters was too low.
It's not high enough.
No, that's high.
Yeah, I see that now.
3 meters is high, especially in a high wind speed zone like this. Surrounded by pines that blow over easily, but Ric's nothing if not optimistic. I can't help admiring Ric and Boio's enthusiasm for their big dream. It's really, really special. But just wandering around here and seeing all of these other unfinished projects. Finished in 4 months? Hanmer Springs thermal pools are surrounded by iconic redwoods. When 2 of them were condemned, Ric and Boio snapped them up. Oh, aren't these magnificent?
They are.
Look at this.
Just a beautiful sequoia.
Wow.
These trees define Hanmer Springs. You come in and you see these majestic redwoods poking into the sky. These particular 2 redwoods that we purchased were starting to die, and so for health and safety reasons, the thermal pools decided they needed to be cut down.
The redwoods are just the type of cladding Ric's been looking for. They're enormous. Instead of trucking them to a sawmill, Ric's friend Rod has brought his portable mill to cut them on site.
We're going to use it for board and battens for the exterior of the house.
The giant redwoods are an enormous job for Rod's portable mill, but it helps that he shares Ric and Boio's love of timber.
That's one mother of a tree. It's 96 years old.
I think around 96 years old. We did have a go at counting the rings, but there was a large number of them. What I like is that the trees aren't disappearing, they're not being burnt, they're not just being dumped. They're going to live on in a sustainable treehouse. And the story is going to be there for future generations. So it's a good feeling. I don't think it's that heavy. Oh, it's not that light.
There's something really magical in the idea that big old landmark trees will be refashioned into a different sort of landmark.
We've realised this is an exciting journey that we both want to go on.
This is the fun part, is the designing of the house. I don't think the actual build is going to be fun because it's going to be quite stressful, but I'm prepared for it. I'm up to the challenge.
Ric and Boio have now amassed quite a collection of locally sourced timber in preparation for the later stages of their build.
Oregon is a beautiful timber, and this timber here is going to be flooring, and some of the timber behind me and what has just been loaded onto the trailer is going to be structural framing timber.
Boy, it's like a giant wood library, isn't it?
How extraordinary.
It is exciting, isn't it?
But I'm most fascinated to see how these giant redwoods scrub up. Oh, it's gorgeous. Look at that colour.
This is a fantastic timber. It's really unusual to use this in New Zealand. We're very lucky to have it, and it's going to go on the outside of the house. We're going to have a beautiful red-coloured house, naturally coloured.
And doing it like this, has it saved you much?
Fingers crossed. I'm hoping that the timber that we've milled, which we use in the house, will be about half the cost of buying it commercially.
This is a complicated project. Home-milled timber for a bespoke build, and before it gets to Dan, the design has already been through 3 sets of hands: the architects, the engineers, and Ric's.
What we haven't had is a discussion yet about if I've made any mistakes. I like to warn people that I make mistakes. And I haven't seen you make them, but I bet you do.
Well, it's one of those things, if you're not making decisions, you're not making mistakes.
No, that's right.
Ric's upfront about his shortcomings, but he's confident of his engineering skills. If he alters the plans, any mistakes are on his head. Already his changes to the mezzanine are holding up full consent, so I've come to Rangiora to meet designer Sally Turnbull to find out why.
So you're lifting the roof and changing the angles, which...
We are. We're lifting the roof in 2 of the octagonal planes and putting a glass roof on it. And so you can lie in bed in the mezzanine and look up at the stars.
Oh boy, that sounds pretty exciting. It also sounds a lot more complicated.
I know, and a lot more expensive.
The original plans had a 300-kilo glass roof right above the bed. Ric's worried about it crashing down and turning his stargazing dream into a nightmare, so he wants it changed.
It's been a bit of a challenge for the manufacturers of skylights.
Really? Why is that?
Ric has put a maximum weight on it, weight limit, but I do believe it is being constructed as we speak.
And it's still in with council and building consent.
Correct.
That's confident.
That is. Yeah, that's Ric. That's our Ric.
The uniqueness of the octagonal treehouse means there's constant problem solving. Some builders might find this frustrating, but I get the sense these guys are enjoying it.
Well, your choice of doing this is to have a bracket, and then you've got your 3 studs in here.
Remember, though, that there's actually 5 because you've got your wall plates coming in.
Yeah, but we can notch these out, you see.
We'll do that. In fact, if anything, if you do this...
That's right.
There you go, we're getting there.
Too easy, isn't it?
Always. Can I keep the pencil?
Oh, I get out of it. Yeah.
There's one last piece of the puzzle before the house starts taking shape. Ric has driven down to Christchurch to sign off the steel pole, designed to be the tree at the centre of the house.
This is the key element that's going to help us build the treehouse. It's the main structural item in the treehouse. we've got the right pipe. And if you look down there, we're exactly in line with that one there. And if we get this bit wrong, the house will be pointing the wrong way.
Although there's an engineer on the build, Ric's reworked some of the drawings so it's on him to ensure everything is just so.
Nothing like this before. Not many people work on tree houses, and we certainly have never before. Yes.
I was sort of expecting a poorer job than this, but in fact this is brilliant. No, I'm very pleased with it.
With the floor and roof beams coming off the pole, every bracket and every angle are critical. Even the tiniest error could have major consequences later in the build. But in late July, with the central pole up, the complex framing for the first floor fits perfectly. I just love this. A little bit of madness, local history and local timber, throw in the oddball engineering, and Dan having to dust off his old woodworking skills. And it's starting to feel like a wee bit of a fairy tale.
It's good to get the old tools back out again, you know? Gets the rust off them anyway, yeah.
But while Dan's in his element with the carpentry, Ric's discovered he's got a bit rusty with his engineering and miscalculated the height of the roof.
I forgot that our floor is 360 millimetres in depth. And what this means is that we've got the floor is slightly higher than designed, whilst the height of the building is sufficient to accommodate it from the top part of our pole. The brackets that you see halfway up are now in the wrong position.
The bottom pole should have been another 150 mil taller. It's building. It's not science. So you just keep getting on with it.
The short pole isn't the only setback. Last night, the violent winds and heavy rain of a winter storm brought down half a dozen pine trees, some disturbingly close to the house. With the site now flooded, work has stopped, costing time and money.
What do they say? A sharp chainsaw makes for a happy marriage. We are in a wind zone which is called extra high. Extra high means trees fall down. One might ask why we want to live in an extra high wind zone in a tree house. And my wife and I keep asking that question. The short answer is that it's rather nice most of the time, but if you have trees crashing down around you, it's not so much fun, I guess.
With a crane due to lift in the roof beams, Ric urgently needs to clear the site and find a solution for the central pole. Three months into the build, and once again the alpine air of Hanmer Springs rings out with the cry of a hard-working chainsaw.
We've got trucks coming in to lift the rafters up, and I have to have this area cleared so that they have safe access.
Plantation pines like these have shallow roots, so it doesn't take much wind to blow them over. With so many trees down around their treehouse, Ric and Boio must be getting nervous.
That stump's going to have to come out anyway, because that's your ramp.
Yeah, but if I pull it out now...
No, it gives us a big swimming pool, doesn't it?
It gives you a big hole, yes.
It's dangerous work, but Ric seems to thrive on it.
This is going to be a nightmare to get down. It's on 2 trees. That'd be right. It's on its way.
For a man who loves trees, he seems to be spending a lot of time chopping them up.
I have to be a bit careful that I don't end up having a treehouse in a paddock, which is a possibility. Now, you're over here again, and you're banned from trees. Do you understand that? Death and destruction awaits you if you stay where the trees are.
The snowy peaks of Hanmer Springs are beautiful and as far away as you can be from Boio's birthplace in coastal Papua New Guinea. But there is a connection. This won't be her first house on poles.
This is where you grew up?
It's the village I grew up in. Just basically houses on stilts over the water. I can't tell you exactly how long the village has been around for, but a very long time, yeah.
These old timber posts are just taken from the forest, I imagine.
Yes, yeah. Some straight ones, a lot of crooked ones.
It's beautiful looking through, though. That makes it all the more interesting. So what's it like to actually live in one of these houses? Do you have strong memories?
I do. I think it's no different living in a normal house, like in New Zealand. Life is just different over there. You can have about 20 people living in one house. Mm-hmm. So the brothers and the sisters and their wives and husbands and children, I enjoyed that. And I miss that living in New Zealand. That's just your, family with mum and dad and maybe 2 children.
It's a bit of irony that here you are on sticks on the water in a very tropical, hot, sticky climate. And here you are building right next to the snow and the mountains. It's almost the opposite.
It is, yeah. I still prefer the hot weather.
So now what you need to do is pack up the house and move it to the right country.
Yes, I think so. I've been trying.
Do you feel homesick watching this?
Yes, I do.
Oh, really?
Yep. I'm always homesick. That's making me, I don't know, mixed emotions. Happy and sad.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess then it's better than nothing, isn't it? That if you can't get back to Papua New Guinea, then you at least build a recreation of what it was like when you grew up.
I think so. Yeah, I agree.
The treehouse is starting to make sense to me now. And I wonder whether Ric is building it for himself or if it is really a labour of love for Boio. There's something quite unique and special about a house in the round like this. It's more like a traditional building used to be, for example, like a teepee or a yurt or an igloo. And the thing that's so extraordinary is that it's so incredibly compact. You're very close to everything, and everything, in this case, radiates from the central pole. But it's incredibly intensive in terms of the amount of work required. Every piece has to be cut, measured, and fitted individually. And there's good news about Ric's mistake. Bolting in a short extension brings the pole up to the right height.
We were going to change the height of these flanges for the mezzanine here, but if we'd done that, it would have raised our mezzanine to the right height, but the pitch of our roof would have been wrong. So we had to actually raise the whole pole, so that brings our roof pitch back to correct.
And after a couple of days with the chainsaw, with the pole now at full height and the trees cleared, the truck can get in to lift the huge roof beams into place. Where most builds use standard lengths and sizes, nothing on this build is standard, and every one of the 8 beams need to be carefully shaped to fit the steel flanges. After misjudging the pole height, it looks like Ric has got the rest of it right.
It's always good when things go like they should go, especially when you're paying for it.
The whole thing's gone smoothly. The joins have gone in nice, got a good reach with the crane. Beautiful day. Doesn't get much better, really.
After all the storms and flooding, to be working in the sunshine and actually progressing with the build is a great feeling.
No problems at all. Sort of all the cuts were good. So we're pushing forward on trying to get a roof on this thing now. So, yeah, keep more days like this and it'll be sweet as.
On a good day, Hanmer is absolutely gorgeous. The distant snowy peaks are like an oil painting. With less than a month to finish their self-imposed deadline, Ric and Boio are positive and still hoping to finish on time. And today they get to stand on their platform and imagine the house around them.
G'day, guys.
Oh, hi, Chris.
Things have progressed. My goodness.
Thank
nice
you.
to see you.
You too.
Everything is coming together. The beams are going up. I mean, you guys must be pretty excited.
Well, I think we are, aren't we, darling?
It is exciting, yeah.
We've got a structure now. You can actually see how the whole house is being held together. And it's like a spider web. You've got these radial beams going out. You've got the support structure going up. And you've got these beautifully strong laminated beams going across.
So you're as happy as Larry then, aren't you?
I feel safer.
What about you, Boyo?
For me, even before all this came up, I was already thinking of how the interior was going to look and things like that.
So you're just itching to get into that much more detailed part of the build.
Yeah, but I think for the interior, it just left it to me.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
catch.
Yeah.
No, but you
Time to-
have a stronger interest in it than I have, I think. If the house doesn't smell, it doesn't itch. I can drop things on the floor and walk around and...
Not in my new house.
It's great to see Ric and Boio so happy and relaxed. But it's Dan who's tackling the difficult work today.
You know there's a bottle of whiskey in this, don't you?
Is that today?
No.
Oh,
If it's done in 4 months.
really? Yeah, it will be. Yeah, no, it's all a numbers game. I've got men coming off other sites.
Ah, that's the trick. That's cheating.
No, it's not. That's forward planning. Now that I know there's a bottle of whiskey involved, there'll definitely be a lot more men here.
No matter how many people Dan brings onto the job, there's still months of work here, not weeks. The house is just a shell without floors, walls, or roof. There's been so much holding up this project, from engineering issues to the weather, not to mention the decision to build in a plantation that keeps dropping pines in the way.
These trees are amazingly close, really, aren't they?
Yes, they are. And so we'll try and keep the ones that look friendly, and the ones that might potentially become enemies we'll deal to.
The one enemy they may not be able to deal to is time. There's so much left to do. They're going to need an army of builders to finish in the next 3 weeks. I feel for Ric and Dan, but I don't think I'll be forking out for that bottle of whiskey. Ric and Boio wanted a summer build for their Hanmer Springs treehouse, but construction didn't kick off until autumn, and their 4-month build has stretched into 5. After yet another storm, and yes, more pines on the ground, the roof is underway. Finally, the treehouse is starting to look like a house. But work has been painfully slow. The winter storms have cost time and money. Ric has to face facts and take out a few more trees.
We have a tree over there, about 3 trees over there, that can in fact just touch the tree house. So the intention is to take probably 3, 4 or maybe 5 of those out as well.
The weather's been everything. We've had torrential rain, about 120 mil in 2 days, howling nor'westers. So everything you can imagine to stop you getting into a roof has been happening. So yeah, we've just got to make hay while the sun shines.
Hanmer Springs is a place of extremes. The roof has to be well insulated for winter snow and able to breathe, so it doesn't sweat in summers that can hit 30 degrees.
We're watertight above now, so it's going to be a lot easier for the builders to put the walls up and then get the windows measured.
While Ric's been focused on the exterior of the building, I have a suspicion that Boio has just as interesting ideas for the treehouse interior.
What have you got planned? I mean, what are the things that excite you about it?
I want to give it a rustic look. You know, like in the bathroom, for the vanity. I was thinking it would be nice to have a, you know, tree stump, and then and then the sink can go on top of that.
Oh, you're having fun now, aren't you?
Yes.
So lots of textures and obviously a lot of timber.
I have to be very careful. Whilst I like timber, too much timber can be too much timber.
It's very much a shared project, isn't it?
It has been from day one that it's both our project, not just our home, you know, it's our project together. Having said all of that, he can be a pain.
Back in May, the guys were so confident of a 4-month build, they put a bottle of whiskey on it. It's now been nearly 6. Work is full steam ahead, but there's still a long way to go.
G'day.
There you go there, mate.
Good, good.
Come on.
And at last I get a chance to see the home-milled redwood planking up on the walls.
It's looking really lovely, Dan. How long has it taken to get to this point?
A long time, a long time.
Pretty much every board is cut down below
Yeah,
and then manhandled up into place, so measured
yeah,
to fit.
yeah. Yeah, it's a 3-man job for each board.
Good old-fashioned craftsmanship.
Wow. Yeah. We'll see how it comes out at the end, eh?
So it's all redwood out here.
Yep.
But what's going on through here?
So the flooring's Oregon.
This is extraordinary. It looks like a huge amount of work.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. There's seems to be the theme that we've got going.
You would expect an octagonal build to come with challenges, but the flooring is the sort of geometry puzzle that can put school kids off maths. Dan's building the floor in separate sections to match the octagonal house. Nothing is uniform, so effectively he's flooring 8 quite different segments.
It would be easier if all the walls were actually parallel to each other, but none of these walls are. Every wall is at a different angle. So not only have you got mitered cuts, you've got splayed cuts as well on the same stick. So when it's done, it'll look awesome. It really will.
It already does look awesome, and the fit and finish looks superb. But I'm just thinking how long it takes.
No. I know. I know how long it's taken already. So I'm thinking, oh, you just start looking around the place and think, holy, yeah.
With every single piece of wood needing to be cut to fit, it's not only laying out the floor that is labour intensive, so is preparing the cladding.
I'm giving them a light sand to try and clean up the surface so that it has a good appearance on the house. When it's first cut, it's absolutely red, a very pinky red, a very beautiful colour, but it quite quickly changes to a sort of a darker red and then to a sort of a browny red. It's a magical colour for a magical house. What more can I say?
Normally timber turns up in a truck ready to go, but using the home-milled redwood means Ric has to route weather grooves in every single plank just to keep the rain out of the house.
It's a massive amount of work to cut it, a massive amount of work to store it so it dries properly, and a massive amount of work to then do the finishing touches like this, and then a massive amount of work to install it on the building. It's all hand done, so it's a lot more labour intensive than perhaps I anticipated at the start of the project. We're hoping to be in it before Christmas, and so that's where the big push is at the moment. It perhaps doesn't look like we're going to get there.
Getting there depends on how fast the team can work. There are no shortcuts. It's all labour and remembering to measure everything twice so the builders only have to cut each piece of timber once. Living in a forest with your building resources literally growing around you, you might have thought a treehouse would be a cheap way to build. Unfortunately, time doesn't grow on trees.
We're behind schedule. It's a complicated build. Everything's designed for simple structures. So your jib, for example, is rectangular. So if you have rectangular walls, you get a very quick install. If you have triangular walls, then you're buggered.
You use that one.
Okay.
The delays in a budget blowout means Ric and Boio are having to be even more involved to hit the Christmas deadline.
All of these have been done by my wife and myself. They're nice and thick, 140. We're going to be as toasty can be in the middle of winter. We'll also be over hot in summer unless we work out how to cool this place.
The complex octagonal design and the use of labour-intensive materials have put Ric and Boio in a difficult financial position.
Over budget By how much, it's painful to think about at the moment, but significantly over budget. Time equals money.
As you can see, when I'm not doing anything there, I'm clearing the area. So I think it's all hands on deck with Richard and I.
I can't say that painting's one of my favourite activities. I've done a lot of it and I hate it. And I don't even feel satisfied after I've done it either. I just think, shit, that's a waste of my life.
I think we're going to have to stop. The builders probably in the next couple of weeks and just finish it ourselves.
Put off the builders? That's a worry. Ric's handy, but this carpentry is so complex, it really needs a craftsman like Dan. Without the money, I can see this all grinding to a halt.
It's a specialist build. You end up spending more money than you expect to on the build. Some people might go 10%, some people might be 20%, and we're much higher than that, possibly around 30 or 40. And that's a lot.
Kind of a bit unhappy, not to mention the stress.
I think we're both stressed about it. We've got a house in Christchurch that we need to sell, and that needs a retaining wall fixed, and that's what's delayed us selling it at the moment. So that's put pressure on us financially because we've had to borrow money to get this build underway.
I don't think Ric and Boio will be in for Christmas. Next Christmas, maybe? It's early spring, and Ric and Boio have finally invited me back to Hanmer Springs to see the treehouse. Ric thought that he could build the house in 4 months flat. It's been a solid 16 months of hard yakka, and I know they've really, really struggled. So I've been feeling very nervous about this. I really hope they've managed to pull it off. Look at that. A real treehouse in the woods. How exciting. Wow. Oh gosh, and look at that redwood cladding. Beautiful. Wow. Hey.
Hi, Chris.
I can't quite believe it. My goodness.
Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you both. And your house is amazing. It really feels like I have finally come to the woodland treehouse. I can't wait to get in and have a look.
Shall we go in?
Yes, please.
Come on in.
Wow. Exciting. The way this expands into the light is beautiful. I'm immediately struck by the airy feel of Ric and Boio's octagonal room. Just like being up in a tree, you get a sense of space all around you. There are even branches striking out from the central steel pole as it flows upwards from the exquisitely handcrafted wooden floors to the conical ceiling above. The branches of the tree are fabulous. They're really working. It's kind of a dance.
The intention was you come in and you're in part of a tree and you look up, but then you can go up the stairs into the other bedroom and you're looking down through branches. It's almost as if you're in a tree house within a tree house.
It's heartwarming to see how Ric and Boio have stepped up here. After they let the builders go, I was worried they wouldn't have the skills to complete such a bespoke project. I can't believe how resilient you two are.
Oh, I can't believe how good my wife is at building.
That ceiling was a nightmare. There's just over 800 pieces of timber up there.
It was the better part of 2 months' work.
I'm surprised either of you have still got hair.
It was a nightmare that I never thought I'd wake up from.
Boio was originally concerned about having too much wood in the house, but I love the way that she and Ric have cleverly married different types of timber, creating a warm, subtle wooden journey throughout the house that includes a beach kitchen bench top. Upstairs is the master bedroom with Ric's long-awaited skylight, a place to lie in bed and survey the universe.
Looking at the stars at night is quite fun. I can quite easily sleep with the stars above me.
It's very romantic.
And I love all these quirky details that you've got. What's going on here?
It's Richard's loose end.
Loose end?
The builder basically said, what am I going to do with this? And I looked at it and I said, well, we'll leave it there. And he said, why? And I said, well, let's call it a loose end.
One idea we talked about was he would cut the top here, so you could put your hot Milo on top there.
So, a loose end with purpose.
Downstairs is a guest bedroom and opposite a generous bathroom.
This is my favourite room, Chris.
I'm amazed at how big it is.
It is.
We've got a shelf for a glass of wine each, so we can sit in a nice hot bath, reading a good book, watching it snow outside.
And for summer dining, there's an outside deck eccentrically shaped around a newly planted tree.
I love being out here and just enjoying seeing your wonderful redwood cladding. All that blood, sweat and tears that you two have put into it, and it looks gorgeous in the light. This has been, for me, a really extraordinary experience following you guys. This is a very unique, original home, and here you are. You've done it. How does it feel?
Everything about it is magical, something from a storybook. It also reminds me of my home, where I grew up with houses on poles.
After about 6 months, you had to let the builders go. What exactly did you have to do then?
We were left with a house which was basically a shell which had been jibbed. There was no ceiling. The floor was about 3/4 complete, so we had to complete the floor.
It took over our lives. Instead of like, I want to go for a run, or I want to go for a walk in the forest, you know, I got to do this.
Tell me, what have you learnt from each other?
I think the whole process of building this house wasn't just frustrating working so hard every day. It was frustrating Richard telling me how to do things.
From my point of view, I had a surprise. My wife was on the crosscut saw, and I'd say, yes, I need a piece this long with this angle, and that would pop a piece with that long and with that angle, and it became quite streamlined towards the end.
So you've become a building team?
Actually, yes.
We have.
I'd say we have. This house has brought us closer, I think.
Yeah.
How did you do with your budget? How did that come out?
You know that you're in trouble when you stop looking at your bank account.
Oh dear.
We're probably quite close to the 600K mark.
Do you remember, Ric, we made this bet that there was a bottle of whiskey in it. Depending on how long the build was going to take, you thought maybe 4 months or so. And here we are, a solid 16 months. And I thought, wow, they've actually managed to pull it off. Deal's off.
Oh, my goodness.
The whiskey's yours.
Oh, thank you very much.
Indeed. This house has always been about trees, and the irony through the building process was each passing storm thinned out the surrounding forest. But as the new trees that Ric and Boio planted push up around the house, it will feel like it's always been here, an integral part of this evolving forest.
Only now that you mention it.
I'd like to propose a toast to Boio and Ric for this wonderful creation in the middle of the forest in Hanmer Springs. Well done, two of you. Cheers.
Once the kids have flown the nest is often the time that people choose to build their dream home. But what happens if that dream is so appealing that the kids decide they want a piece of the action too? Te Arai is a rural area 2 hours north of Auckland on the stunning east coast of the North Island. Vince and Cathy Moores bought a 2-hectare block of land here in 2003. The plan was to move from New Plymouth once the kids were grown and build a home large enough to host both family and friends, made while backpacking overseas. Travel is a passion they both share. It's how they met back in 1980 when Vince was working as a tour guide.
I had a trip going around Europe for 10 weeks, 43 passengers, 38 single females, and I met this young 19-year-old New Zealand jazzercise instructor for the very first time, and I fell in lust.
I was really impressed with Vince because he wasn't just a tour guide. He knew his history, and I wanted to recall everything in detail, where I'd been and what I'd seen. So I would visit him at night and ask him for this day book.
Yeah, a good shut-up line, really. I mean, I said, no, sorry, no, but she persisted.
Yeah, so that's how we met.
Cathy soon had a ring on her finger, and the couple set up home in New Plymouth where they had 3 children and Vince became a successful businessman.
We started, I don't know, over 20 different businesses over the years, and I'm a bit of an entrepreneur. I get bored easily.
Vince and Cathy dabbled in everything from retail to hospitality to property development, and their future looked rosy. But when Vince turned 50, life took a dramatic turn.
Had a perfect storm of events with losing my mum, and some things went very sour. The global financial turned down. Our son was in hospital, and I went into this really bad place where I couldn't even get out of the house for a year. And unfortunately, I didn't respond to medication, so yeah.
So we had to look at life differently.
Vince's road to recovery from depression 9 years ago came partly through biking. Long cycle rides through several continents. It inspired a new way of thinking and a desire for a simpler life.
Yeah, just really getting back to basics, to enjoy our time together with family and friends, isn't it?
And that's the goal here, is to create the good life.
Wow, oh gosh, you get such a good view from here.
Yeah, it's pretty special.
What is the plan, guys? What are you going to build?
So what we wanted to do was a rural barn look, country, dressed up with stone and some nice timbers.
We're putting in a pool, and then we're putting in a yoga studio because Cathy's a yoga body balance instructor. Yeah, and then having areas where different people who come to stay can have their own room. And one of the things we really enjoy is hosting people, cyclists, hitchhikers, friends, family, and to be able to bring them into our home and share. Long table, lots of local produce.
Oh, wonderful.
That's the dream.
Vince and Cathy's huge Tuscan-inspired villa tucks neatly into the hill. The beating heart of the home is a colossal central atrium that Vince jokes is large enough to play cricket in. A state-of-the-art kitchen gives way to a long dining table where the couple will entertain friends and family. To the right is a large open fire and cosy seating area. Guests will stay in 2 self-contained wings that sit either side of this main room. There's a media room for Vince to escape to, and upstairs is the couple's loft master bedroom, which has panoramic views out to the coast. Large trusses give this generous home a spacious barn-like feel. Tall glass doors open onto an outdoor dining area overlooking Cathy's veggie gardens and Vince's petanque court. Under the house, Cathy's private yoga studio leads out onto a 20-metre-long heated swimming pool. This impressive family lodge is finished off with handcrafted sandstone cladding and is surrounded by stunning mature gardens.
You're building a palace.
Yeah, well, with our project here, I spent quite a lot of time designing with an architect friend of mine, got everything pretty well sorted, and then got some feedback from the family who proceeded to change everything. So my idea started to morph and change, so I said, hey, I just need a bit of time out. So I hopped on a push bike and cycled from Cairo in Egypt, 12,000 kilometers to Cape Town, across Africa.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's great that Vince has biking for stress relief, but alarming that he's already bailed at the planning stage, because the actual build itself will test him.
The construction market is really tough. So having a budget is important. It would be good to know what it is.
Well, it's interesting with the budget side of things. I know that we have a lot of variables.
So have you got a figure?
Well, it's multi-million, isn't it?
It's a few million, yes.
A few? Are we talking 2? Are we talking 10?
Hoping...
No. The budget for this part of the build is over 2 million.
Around, what, 2.5, 3, is it? Or is it 2?
Well,
it's good to get a handle on it, because I'm interested to see if you would pull it off.
Yeah, it'll be about 2.5 for this part of the build.
Well, we're both good with figures, aren't we?
Yeah.
They'll need to be. That $2.5 million budget could easily balloon out of control with such a large build. To save money, Vince and Cathy have chosen not to employ an architect. Instead, they asked friend Michael Mansfeld to design the house.
When Vince and Cathy came to me, I thought they were trying to fit in too much. That was a real challenge for me because it's probably the biggest house I've ever designed. And I sort of thought, well, this is just a little bit of overkill. How am I going to get this, and this, and get it all to work harmoniously? I've told them what I think, and we've actually come up with a design that I'm really happy with. And you know, what's so great about them is they value relationships over money, and that is something I respect very much.
I get the idea that Vince and Cathy are stretching themselves to build a house that is more for their friends than it is for them. On site, they've built a self-sufficient shed where they've been living since they left New Plymouth a few months ago. This small space could be challenging, especially for Vince, who needs time alone to recharge. Today is momentous, with the first foundations being laid for this complex build.
We're building on the top of a ridge, and the engineers are concerned of a term called slippage. The soils are an expandable clay, and apparently the geotech people are saying that it has this propensity to expand and then contract. So to actually make sure the whole shebang doesn't disappear down the hill into the bush, they've got this really grunty engineering design.
Steel cages are being dropped into holes every 2 meters around the edge of the extensive site. Building further back on the top of the hill would have been much, much cheaper, but Vince and Cathy don't want to compromise on their vision.
Then also there's just about another dimension to it. There's a swimming pool which is going in front of that. So it's quite a large pool. So that's the concern, is the enormous amount of weight on the edge of a hill.
Earthworks like these are massively expensive, with no change out of 300,000. There's little room for error, and already the contractors hit a snag. Just what you don't want when the building inspector's on site.
Some of the holes have got some water in them, so he's failed 4 holes there, so 4 of the holes have got to be drilled deeper.
Eventually, over 100 piles will be sunk into the ground. While they're essential, that's a lot of money spent on something you'll never see.
It's quite an investment, a lot more than we'd intended, but that is just the nature of the topography and the soil.
It's great to get this stage underway, but Vince and Cathy's spend on the foundations is already way over the original budget, and they've only just begun. It's 4 months since the foundations were laid in Te Arai. It was a complex job due to the nature of the clay earth here. Today, the team are laying a concrete floor. This will be the ceiling of the gym and yoga studio and the base of the outside deck. The first stage is to place a network of pre-stressed concrete ribs.
As these ribs go in, there's boxing that will go fit between each of those ribs, and then we pour 100 to a 75 mil topping of concrete to form the floor, which is basically a roof.
Phil's taking some footage to keep Vince and Cathy up to date with the build while they're away in New Plymouth.
Okay, here we go, Vince. Things are going well, which is just fantastic.
Happy? Drop.
I don't know if the weather's like this where you are, but man, look at that blue sky, brother. It's all going to plan.
The reason Vince and Cathy are back in New Plymouth is to try and sell an investment property. They need the funds for the build and the expensive, swanky new pool. The place has been on the market for months, and so far, no bites.
Hi, Chris.
Hello, hello. Wow, this looks interesting. Tell me a little bit more. Why?
Well, what happened, Chris, we initially bought this site about 12 years ago. It was a small block of land next to the golf course overlooking the lake, and we were initially planning to build 12 two-storey townhouses. But it hasn't really turned out that well with the economic downturn and people's appetite for that style of house in Taranaki. It just hasn't worked. So we've had to re-engineer and rejig things. So instead of doing 12, we've now got 7 design and build houses. So we've been doing those progressively over the last few years, and this one has been completed. We have another one that's just been completed, and we have another one to build. And we need to sell all of these to fund the build in Te Arai.
Okay, so no pressure.
Well, there's a bit of pressure, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's not just one house Vince and Cathy need to sell, but several. They're under much more monetary pressure than I first thought. I have to admit, I'm feeling quite concerned about Vince since his breakdown. He's found it increasingly difficult to cope. Lucky he has biking as a way to de-stress.
When it all gets a bit tough, I hop on my bike and I disappear. I need to do this sort of stuff because otherwise, I say I get a bit overwhelmed on a day-to-day basis coping with stuff.
Right. And you've also spent quite a lot of time touring overseas, like on this magnificent beast.
Yes, my black rhino, yeah. You're cycling maybe, 8, sometimes 10 hours a day.
Yep.
In remote places, parts of the world people wouldn't even see. You get quite like a meditative sort of state, really, Chris. Basically, you pitch your tent, you cycle for 160-odd Ks, put your tent up again. Very simple lifestyle.
One of the inspirations for Te Arai is Vince's desire to pay back some of the generosity he experienced on his travels around the world.
Something we really want to do is to actually be in a position to share that hospitality. So give them a bed to sleep in as opposed to a tent. And rather than a shovel and a loo roll in the bushes, we've actually got flushing toilets and everything.
Wow, wonderful.
Yeah, pretty special.
Gosh, I'll come. The attraction of the open road under your own resources is a really, really special thing. And I can really see where Vince is coming from. And what he and Cathy intend to do with their home is embracing that as a kind of wayside inn for passing pilgrims.
And that wayside inn is advancing at a pace.
Yeah, a bit of progress. We've got the frames up, and then today's a big day getting our trusses in, which is a big part of the overall design, the big scissor trusses into the main lounge.
To add to the barn-like feel of the living area, Vince and Cathy have opted for scissor-shaped trusses, where the underside slopes up in the middle.
But if you had just a horizontal bottom chord, the challenge is your eye picks that up and it lowers the ceiling and could feel a little bit oppressive. The scissor truss just gives that little bit of intimacy, but you've still got that volume as well, so it just feels a little bit more homely.
Craning in the 300-kilogram trusses is not easy on a site like this, perched on an exposed ridgeline.
We have had some bad winds over the last few days. It's windier the higher up you go, so we've got to hold on to them, and these things are very, very, very heavy, so you don't want one hitting you, crushing you.
No, Scotty.
As the cumbersome trusses are hoisted in, Vince ties off a string to ensure that they're perfectly aligned.
Way off our line.
He won't be happy unless everything lines up with pinpoint accuracy.
So I'm a real stickler for detail. String line through the centre is a little bit off.
See if I can sledgehammer that, eh?
Fortunately, Scotty the builder is a carbon copy of myself. He's very good. Everything's lining up, and all those little details, great to see.
Yeah, well, that's what tape measures are for, aren't they? You know, if you can't get it right, maybe you should change your job.
The large trusses add another dimension to this already enormous living room. It seems oversized to me, but ultimately it's Vince and Cathy who'll be living here.
I think you've got the height just right.
Yep.
So it doesn't feel too cavernous, it doesn't feel too big.
Just right.
Yeah, I think you've got it spot on. Aren't you clever?
I've done something right, haven't I?
Yeah. It's taken a while.
Capture this moment. Yes. Well done, mate. Yeah, awesome.
The giant hall couldn't be more different from their temporary home on site, which is small, cosy, and, well, a tad claustrophobic. There's no way to get away from the constant noise, dust, and questions from contractors. And now, two of Vince and Cathy's adult children, Nicola and Doug, have decided to move in with them.
I actually love living with Mum and Dad, to see them working and gardening and doing what they love, and then I guess it's interesting managing the space when we're all together. It's like camping.
But Vince isn't totally enamored with this new living arrangement.
You want one, Dad?
Not for me, thank you. I left school at 15 and I emigrated to South Africa by myself when I was 19 and travelled the world and have been very independent. And I assumed that our children, being entrepreneurial as well, might leave home at 15 to go and spread their wings.
There you go, Mummy-o.
Cheers, doggies.
To the top, living the dream.
They travelled, they've done some wonderful things, but they love being at home. And this house we're building is for the family to be able to come and stay. Big difference, though, between coming and staying and coming and living. And what's happened is they've come to live with all their stuff. And we haven't got the house built, so it just means that it's quite intense. Simple things. I mean, we eat quite simply, so for me, I don't need to have a huge range of exotic ingredients. But trying to find something in the cupboards, I've got packets of stuff I don't even know the name of, but it's falling out of the cupboards. I'm looking for black peppercorns, and in here, I've got every spice and condiment known to man, which I never use. I mean, I've got things like star anise, dried mint. When do you use dried mint, for God's sakes? Mustard seeds, yellow. Oh, here we go. Black peppercorns. Empty. It's the only one we haven't got. Welcome to my world, living with the kids.
I really hope Vince can handle having his children at home and doesn't decide to take off on another bike odyssey. Cathy's personal yoga studio and gym under the house at Te Arai is taking shape. Their son, Doug, teaches yoga like his mother, and he's keen to share his ideas for finishing the space.
So you were thinking of putting cedar down here, lining it with cedar?
Yeah, I think it'd be nice. The natural elements of the wood and then the stone.
The only thing is, what I was thinking is, I think the cedar would make it too dark, so what I was looking at is lining that whole wall with mirrors. And then that reflects the natural bush and the pool in there, if you're happy with that.
Sounds good.
And then Mum wants a ballet bar across there to do her ballet class.
Sure the ballet bar's not for you, Dad?
No, it's not for me, no, just in here. There's a bar in the corner, that's for me, for cocktails. As long as there's no smoothies, that's fine. Cocktails, pina colada, that's fine, but a smoothie-free zone.
Oh, it's gonna be magic. Looking out to the bush, just with the bird sounds and then all the doors open.
Even ignoring his aversion to smoothies, Vince is clearly conflicted between loving the kids' input, but also finding it all just a bit irritating. With the blockwork finished and sealed, the stonemasons have moved in to work on the facade.
One of the things I like about Europe, and Provence in particular, and Tuscany, are the dry stone walls. We've chosen this particular stone because of the colour, the sandstone and the white sand beaches here. With my OCD tendencies, I tend to pick lines and so forth, so we've gone for a random pattern. So it doesn't take your eye on a set level. It gives that really warmth feel. And when we get greenery and palm trees through here in the pool, we think it's going to really be a real wow and something we really enjoy.
The stonework looks impressive, but covering most of the house and the retaining walls comes at a colossal cost.
A lot of the areas we work on, you'll probably get 2 square metres up a day. So it is a very time-consuming and expensive process because of the labour.
But then nothing about this build is cheap. Cathy is in the city today on the hunt for pieces to furnish their new place. A house this grand with so much space is going to need grand objects to fill it. So she's looking at antique French furniture.
The house demands some strong pieces, I think. What I really appreciate is something that's already been in use. So I like things that have been repurposed or reinvented. But they have to be pretty big, yeah, to make a statement in a big house, yeah. This is something that I think might work. I love the colour of the timbers. The size will be perfect, I think. I'll have to measure up to go behind our couch. It's taken me ages to find something just right, and I think this could be it. Cost. No, when you fall in love with something, you don't have to worry about the price.
That could almost be the motto on this build. Despite Vince's hope that the kids would move on, 3 months later, they're still living at Te Arai. Now Vince and Cathy have to decide whether to start building the luxuriant swimming pool. It's a tough decision because they still haven't sold any of the properties in New Plymouth.
So we've had a word with a friendly bank manager. Very friendly, he phones me up every week to make sure I'm still in the country and haven't done a runner. So we pushed the button on the pool. So basically this is the pool. It's 20 metres long and it comes out from the gym, the yoga studio there. It's really important we try and get the pool in now because if we put it off, we lose the summer. And now's the time to dig. So if we don't actually do it now, we lose another 6 months.
The Te Arai clay means Grant has to take extra precautions.
See these cracks?
Yeah.
That cracks comes from the heat, and it's even worse on the far end because it's been exposed a bit more. And if water gets down in there, that'll collapse and it'll cave in. There's a storm coming on Thursday. It may not hit till Friday. So tonight we'll be putting polythene all around the whole side of the pool.
Right.
Any water gets in, we can chuck a submersible pump in there because we're expecting quite a bit of rain on Thursday.
You could be swimming at the weekend.
Yeah. You mightn't look too clean by the time you come out though.
Alongside Grant today is his loyal dog, Buddy.
Come on, let's go to work. Yep, up. He's been with us on the whole job since day one. He rides in the machines and stuff. All the boys love him and the owners love him and stuff. Good boy. We don't normally take dogs on site, but yeah, he's pretty well behaved and yeah, bit of a crazy dog really, but he brings a bit of entertainment to the crew.
While I understand the desire to start the pool in summer, a big pool like this won't give them much change out of $200,000. So that's even more debt to add to their financial stress.
It's a big hole you empty your wallet into. You just dig a hole and fill it with dollars. But it'll be pretty awesome when it's done.
The tons of dirt Grant and Buddy are excavating for the pool are moved to nearby retaining walls. Eventually, these will be large flat patio areas.
Well, for me, it's very exciting because we've got the diggers there and we're creating some terraces where I'll be able to plant my permanent vegetable gardens. So that'll be all the produce for the kitchen, and that's what I'm actually most passionate about. For me, the priority is always the planting and surrounding yourself with nature, and then the build is secondary to that, so I'm really, really excited.
To date, Cathy has planted a whopping 2,500 trees on the property.
Isn't she gorgeous?
With the superstructure in place, Vince and Cathy can show me the layout of their new home. I still have my doubts, though, about the sheer size of the build.
This is enormous. What were you thinking?
It's got a bit of volume to it, but if you like indoor cricket or badminton, it's just awesome.
I'd say it's too big. I mean, the distance between here and that door down there would be at least 2 cricket pitches.
Yeah, but you have the run-up as well, though. So you have to cater for the fast bowlers. It looks a big room here, but when you get the furniture and the different zones, it all will be in scales. What we wanted to create is like a lodge feel. But to get that volume, the exposed trusses, the big fireplace together, we think it will work really well.
So we already have next summer booked up with people coming from the States and Europe.
You can imagine that it would make a damn fine lodge, a damn fine hotel.
Yeah. Well,
I'd prefer it personally if somebody was paying, though.
Well, somebody might have to, yeah.
Not only have Vince and Cathy got people coming in to visit this summer, they've got a tribe of friends staying right now in the small shed.
Last night, the snoring was so bad, Vince ended up sleeping in the car.
Oh, really? You've been promoted to the car?
Yes.
And how are you feeling?
Shattered.
With 11 people staying in accommodation built for just 2, every available space is being used. After sleeping a night in his car, Vince's tolerance is evaporating fast.
This is my one last vestige of personal space, my workshop, and that's all gone as well, actually.
Vince loves being social, but he also needs downtime alone. The money flows out to keep the build going, and the debt just keeps mounting. The unrelenting pressure of the build, precarious financial situation, and cramped living finally takes its toll.
I suppose just the last few months have been pretty tough. Unfortunately, I have great difficulty dealing with too much going on. And even in social situations, I find that challenging. So when I go into a bit of a dark place, I withdraw, like a lot of blokes do. I don't talk about issues. I think there needs to be a greater understanding of mental health and how it affects people. Yeah, it affects a lot of people in the community, yeah. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, because on the surface, hey, we're living the dream here. Yeah, why should we have any issues? I mean, goodness me, you've got a wonderful wife, gorgeous family, friends. We're very fortunate to be able to be digging this, building this wonderful property. Goodness sakes, why would you actually be feeling upset? Why would you actually be having a few bad days? Beggars belief, doesn't it? But unfortunately, that's what can happen with the with the mind and with that process. So I just have to manage that.
With Vince teetering on the edge of another depressive episode, he's got to make some tough decisions. Either keep building the house to the highest specifications, which means continuing enormous financial pressure, or put the build on hold to prevent his mental health deteriorating. But that could be even more expensive. Stopping a build of this scale is a bit like stopping an ocean liner, and just as hard to get up to speed again. I've seen many of them stop and never restart. Mounting pressure from the build has put Vince in a dark place. He and Cathy still haven't found buyers for the new Plymouth properties. And on top of this, Vince is struggling with the cramped living conditions he's sharing with his adult children. It's a million miles from an unassuming country life. With at least 8 more months of the build to go, Vince is doing some soul searching.
It hasn't rolled as we would have thought it would have rolled. For me, it's about enjoying the journey and having that freedom. And sometimes with the financial pressure, with things not flowing as they perhaps could, yeah, for me, I feel a little bit trapped. If some of these things don't fall into place, yeah, we might just say, well, let's just stop for a little while, just shut it down. I think if we put things on hold, yeah, you know, we still work on the gardens. And I think also maybe do another bike ride, you know, and take time out.
While I understand why Vince wants to close the build down, I'm also aware of the huge costs this creates, which would ultimately put them in an even worse financial situation. Cathy is working hard to support Vince and ultimately to keep the build on track.
We've been here before, and because our relationship in the past has been so good and we've built up this emotional bank account, you get through those really, really difficult times.
The kids are also giving Vince the space he needs.
Try and get out of the house a few days of the week and come work in the city. And then in the weekends, it's nice to get up there and give them a hand and help on the build. That's kind of when you get a chance to talk about the day and life and really connect.
Depression has become a very open topic in the family. We openly discuss how we feel and, yeah, we try and work through the issues.
Dad's talked a few times about stopping the build. He's kind of the one who's got the financial stress. He's helping project manage it. He's got everything on his shoulders. But then the sun comes out, something happens, and the world's right again. And I think he sees the bigger vision, which keeps driving him forward.
The big house will be the house that they can all come home and everybody will have their space, and that's why we're building a big house. Because we actually, when Vince is well, he loves nothing more than having a house full. So it's a double, yeah. He needs his peace, but he also loves socialising and loves having the family around.
Two months on, and Vince seems to be in better spirits. And despite his intentions to put the build on hold, work continues on site. Today, the deck above the yoga studio is being sealed and waterproofed. And the pool is now ready to have concrete sprayed onto the framework. The main concern for Vince and the contractors is the very real threat of bad weather.
We've got a cyclone just skirting past, and so we've managed to get a very short window to get this done.
If it rains today, yep, it could be a bit of a problem, but if it gets bad, we'll build a frame over the whole pool, and then we'll drag out our covers that we bought today, and we'll just carry on. The concrete's booked, so we've got to get it done.
5 concrete truckloads are needed for the 20-metre-long pool.
Yeah, we've got quite a big crew here today, but they have to work very quickly as the concrete's going off.
It's a hard job. They've got to haul that hose around at maybe 60 or 70 kilo of hose on them and another 30 to 100 kilo dragging around sometimes. It's a demanding job and they enjoy it. They certainly earn their keep.
This huge team of workers and truck after truck of concrete all adds up to more money.
It's quite an investment. Yeah, no, it's a lot of money, but it is a premier product. And also we've elected to put on an electric pool cover. And that pool cover, yes, it does cost more than our first house. So it is a real indulgence for the project.
Once again, Vince has gone for the highest spec product on the market. There are no compromises in this build, and I'm beginning to understand why. At first, I thought the house was just too big. But now I can see where Vince and Cathy are going with this project, and I think they've got the scale just right. It's reminiscent of a grand Italian villa perched graciously on the hill. It's still at least 6 months away from completion though, and I fear there may be many more challenges ahead.
Nice to see you.
A couple of months later, I'm back to check in on Vince and Cathy.
So I know at the beginning I gave you guys a bit of a hard time about choosing to build it such a big project. Do you kind of feel right now like maybe we bit off a little bit more than we thought we were up for?
There have been moments, absolutely. Lots of heart-to-hearts, questioning all the time, but we need a big property to house everyone. And then once it's finished, we won't need to go anywhere. He can go to the movies in his house. I can harvest from the garden. We've got the solar. We collect our own water. I'll have chooks. I'll have bees.
I'm really glad that the vision of the lifestyle that they want is keeping them focused on completing the build.
I guess the real question for me is how things tracking in terms of the finances. I mean, are you on budget?
No, that's not going too well, unfortunately. It's been a lot more complex than, I suppose, what I envisaged. We've chosen to go ahead with the pool, the terracing, which has been a considerable expense, well over what we were anticipating. Yeah, we've got a few issues for us. We still got to sell our show home. We still got some sections to sell. Yeah, there's a bit of juggling to go to actually make sure we can keep the build going.
Fingers crossed that the new Plymouth properties sell. But by late winter, that still hasn't happened. And Vince and Cathy have been working all hours to get the house finished.
I don't think I've ever seen them so stressed. They're doing massive days, getting up at the crack of dawn, working outside in the garden, like really like hard physical work until dark. And then often coming in, and then Dad's on the computer for another 4 or 5 hours till midnight doing all the paperwork and things. And then, 7 days a week, so I just can't wait until they're actually like relaxing on the deck, having a glass of wine and actually, enjoying everything that they've created.
But that triumph may now be short-lived. The huge expense of building such a lavishly high-spec home may have cost the whole family their dream.
The original plan was to have this beautiful family home to host, all of our family and friends, and we all travel a lot, so we've got a lot of friends from overseas. But now it's definitely kind of swapped to us having to run it as a business because obviously it's gone so over budget.
The idea is for the family to run Te Arai as a luxury lodge part-time. Where once Vince and Cathy had hoped to host their friends, it may well be their friends who are hosting them.
If we have paying guests coming to stay here and they want to rent the whole house, well, hey, we go and stay with our friends. And we travel and go overseas and stay with our friends for a week.
We go camping.
We go camping.
Yeah, well, that's how we met.
And then when there's people aren't there, well, our friends can come and stay.
Throughout this build, I've been blown away by how Vince's drive and Cathy's irrepressible optimism has got them over the hardest of hurdles. Even the awful thought that if finances don't line up, they may well be forced to sell.
Home is where your family and friends are. Yeah, this is fantastic, but hey, something else will happen. And yeah, further down the track, if we have to move, we have to move. But hopefully not, hopefully not.
Vince and Cathy set out to build a hugely ambitious project, vast in scale and conception, and it's pushed them to the absolute brink, so I really hope that it's been worth all the heartache. We're about to find out. Whoa, looking very sharp. Hey!
Nice to see you.
Oh, you guys look great.
Good to see you.
And the house looks fabulous.
Yeah.
Can't wait to have a look inside.
Come on through, have a look.
Come to our new home. So this is it, Chris.
Oh my goodness.
It changed a little bit, Chris.
This is extraordinary.
Cheers. No, we're very pleased.
It's all come together beyond our expectations.
Yeah.
It feels like a family home.
The cavernous cricket pitch has been transformed into a series of articulated spaces, defined by generously proportioned furniture.
I love the scale of your couch. It's gorgeous. And it really takes command of the whole room around the fireplace. That, together with the table, absolutely encapsulates what's going on in the living area. And in the same way that this table anchors the living room, this table really anchors the dining.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. What's this made of?
It's beech from an industrial factory in East Germany.
Wow.
And it's been bolted to these cast iron legs from a car factory in Detroit in the States.
Oh, they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I have to lighten the load, Chris, with some wildflowers.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine some good feasts being had around this table. And what you've done with the kitchen is also fabulous. It almost feels like a kind of grand cafe.
Yeah, I suppose that's going back to my catering days, Chris, as a chef. Yeah, all your produce and bits and pieces. It has got a bit of an industrial feel to it.
But behind the facade is a functionally driven design, which has Vince's enthusiasm for order written all over it. There'll be no chaos in this kitchen.
The idea here, Chris, is that we have a separate bar.
So there's a place for everything.
Absolutely.
The green smoothies will happen over there, and the morning coffee will happen over there.
So you just go from the day. You start here, you go over there, and then you end up there.
Right.
Or on Sundays, you end up there at lunchtime. So it's...
But the thing that I absolutely love about your house is this absolutely fabulous vista.
Yeah, it's pretty special, isn't it?
Well, it is the reason why we fell in love with the property.
Leading out from the kitchen are terraced vegetable gardens.
It's been an absolute labour of love I nurture and look after my plants like they're babies. I love my plants, and they give me great joy.
The thing that is really coming home to me now, that it really is country life.
Yeah.
It's the house and the garden together. The lavender border along the edge, it's beautiful. And that is just so classic, kind of traditional European gardens, isn't it?
It is.
What I really love about this project is the way that Cathy's passion for plants has grounded the house. The terraces following the contour of the hill remind me of how classic Italian farmhouses sit harmoniously in the landscape. The front of the house is defined by a generous porch, where a stone fireplace creates yet another outdoor seating area.
This would be the spot to sit, wouldn't it?
Either side of this are two self-contained guest wings, with the added luxury of both an inside and an outside bath.
Yeah. This is a lovely room, this room. It's very, very connected with the bush and the greenery, the birds, so very peaceful room.
And a little lounge here, Chris, with a fireplace. Very private and a lovely setting.
Straight out onto the deck, got a lovely hot bath.
Upstairs is Vince and Cathy's more modest master bedroom with views over Te Arai's rolling hills to the distant sand dunes. Below the house is Cathy's mirrored yoga studio and, yes, that swanky 20-metre pool.
Oh, this is gorgeous. Can't quite believe it. The stone walls have come up brilliantly.
No, we're really pleased, Chris. And I think that the in-outflow, Chris, with the yoga studio we have here works so well. You've got this reflection of the mirrors and the bush.
It really doesn't get better than this. I'm just sitting here in quiet awe of what you two have just pulled off, because I think what you've done is really extraordinary.
Last night was our first night in this room. We lit the fire and the family came around the table and we all said, this feels like home.
That's nice. They're very special. Yeah.
Just in simple terms, is it what you imagined it was going to be from the outset?
It absolutely has exceeded our expectations. The journey to get here was a lot harder than we
much harder.
Thought it might be.
Cycling across Africa was easy by comparison.
I was going to ask, what have you learnt from each other through this?
Through this project, Chris, I've got a huge respect for Cathy of just how hard she works. And Cathy she doesn't do anything for herself. Always does it for everybody else, for the children, for me, and for others. So she's a very giving person.
But I'm getting what I've dreamed about. This is,
special for her.
At the beginning, your budget was 2.5. So what did it end up at?
Considerably more. Yeah, a good million over, I would say, by the time it all wraps up.
3.5.
Yeah, well, plus the shed, maybe plus the pool. Total project would be maybe just under 5, wouldn't we, for the total thing? But we've got a magnificent home.
I got the feeling from you both that the whole idea with this project was also to end up debt-free. So given the way that it's ended up, how do you feel about that?
When we realised that we were going to run over, it was very, very difficult, and I was an emotional wreck.
Yes, it wasn't our intention to go into debt. So the way we justify it is I've never had any personal debt, but I have no problems with business debt. So by having this as a business, people coming to rent the house for a week, we believe it will stack up. Yeah, it's just numbers at the end of the day.
And a shed to live in.
And a shed to live in.
And a shed, we've always got the shed to live in.
Yeah,
we're
very blessed.
Very blessed, and we know that, and we don't lose sight of that. We're very grateful every day.
Cathy and Vince have cajoled magic from this clay hillside. They've transformed it into a wonderful country retreat. With Cathy's passion and Vince's refusal to compromise, they've created a home that will age gracefully. I just hope they get to enjoy it and don't end up living in the shed.
supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.